Hi, we are going to talk about solving quadratic equations by using factoring. So first of all, we need to understand there's something called zero product property, which basically says that if you multiply two quantities and you know the product is zero, then one of those two quantities has to be zero. And that fact is used in this approach. So let's take a look at these basic equations. So you got solve x plus 5 times x minus 3 equals 0. So there is a product here. The product is 0. That means either x plus 5 is going to equal 0 or x minus 3 is going to equal 0. And then we solve each one. This one gives us x equals -5. This one gives us x equals 3. And those are the solutions. This next problem here, x times x minus 4 equals 0. So again, we have a product of x and x minus 4. One of them must be 0 because it says 0. X equals 0 or x minus 4 equals 0. This is good to go already. This gives us 4 when we solve it. And we have 0 and 4. Exactly the same approach is used here. 2x plus 1 equals 0 or 1 minus x equals 0. So this here, we subtract 1, gives us 2x equals -1, and it's going to be x equals -1 half. And here we solve this, this is going to give us x equals 1. Right? And the solutions here are going to be -1 half and 1. Alright, so basically this is how this approach works, but they're not always going to be in factored form, so sometimes you have to put them in factored form. Let's take a look at those examples. So here's one, x squared minus 5x equals 0. First of all, make sure that it says equals 0. It does. X squared minus 5x, you can factor out x, which will leave you with x minus 5. Then we know that x has to equal 0 or x minus 5 has to equal 0. That gives us 5. That gives us 0. We have our solutions as 0 and 5. 2x squared plus 6x equals 0. 2x squared and 6x, you can factor out 2x. That will leave you with x plus 3 equals 0. So we're going to set 2x equals 0. That obviously means x has to equal 0. Or x plus 3 has to equal 0. That gives us x equals -3. And we have 0, -3. Please take a look at example 6. Please be very careful with a problem like that, because the equation, when we try to solve quadratic equations, other than some special cases that allow you for some exceptions, you do need to say have an equation that's going to say equals 0. So that's why I put careful here, because it does not say equals 0. What we're going to need to do is we're going to need to subtract 9x on both sides. So this will give us 0 here. Need to be careful with the left hand side, because these are not like terms, so you can't combine them. That means you are going to have 4x squared minus 9x. And then you can see that this problem looks very much like example 5. We'll look for a common factor. You can take out x. It's going to leave us with 4x minus 9 equals 0. I'm going to continue here. So that means x has to equal 0 or 4x minus 9 has to equal 0. That's already done. And for this one, it's a two-step equation. We're going to get 4x equals 9. Divide both sides by 4. X equals 9/4. It does not, 4 does not go into 9, so we're just going to leave it like that. And our solutions will be 0 and 9/4. All right. Let's take a look at a few more. X squared minus 16. This is a difference of two squares. This is x squared minus 4 squared. And this can actually be factored because we're ultimately trying to understand how to do it by factoring. So x minus 4 times x plus 4 equals 0, which means x minus 4 equals 0, or x plus 4 equals 0. That gives us 4. That gives us negative 4. And after that we can write our solutions as 4 and negative 4. Next one. Now this one requires a little bit more work because you do not, it's one of those trinomials that you can factor. And what we need to do is find two numbers whose product is 2 and the sum is negative 3, since this number is 1. And those numbers are negative 2 and negative 1. But please be careful, the numbers that you think about when you come up with a way to factor it are not the solutions. So you do need to write it in the factored form, and now you can proceed from here. So x minus 2 equals 0, or x minus 1 equals 0. We have 2 and we have 1. Okay, take a look at number 9. Again, I put careful there just to remind you that if you look at this equation, it does not say equals 0, so you must take care of this 24 here. So when subtract 24 on both sides, you will get 0 on the right hand side, and the term here 24 does not have anything in common with these two, which means you are going to have both of them present. We're looking for two numbers whose product will be negative 24 and the sum is negative 3. Those are negative 8 and positive 3. Okay, so you can already see, I hope, x minus 8 equals 0 or x plus 3 equals 0. And this gives us 8. This gives us negative 3, right? And then we write the solutions as 8 and negative 3. By the way, a common question that I hear, doesn't matter what order I put these numbers in, like do I have to put 8 first and negative 3 second? The answer is no. You can write negative 3 first and 8 after that, so it's not going to make any difference. Alright, we have one more thing left, which is a real-life example. So the product of two positive numbers is 70. One number is 3 more than the other numbers. Find both numbers. So one number, yeah, we're going to label that as x. So we know that the other number is 3 more. So second number is going to be x plus 3. So we know when we multiply these two numbers together, we are going to get 70. So x times x plus 3 equals 70. So this is an equation, but this looks like this is a factored form here, which it is, but you don't have 0 here. So you don't have any other choice but to distribute this, bring this on the left, make it equal 0, and then go from there. So we distribute x. This is going to give us x squared plus 3x equals 70. Subtract 70. That gives us x squared plus 3x minus 70 equals 0. We're looking for two numbers. The product has to be negative 70 and the sum has to be 3. Those numbers are going to be positive 10 and negative 7, right? 10 times negative 7 is negative 70. 10 plus negative 7 is 3. So x plus 10 equals 0 and x minus 7 equals 0. This gives us 10. This gives us 7. I'm sorry, this is negative 10. But here's one problem. When we go back to the problem and reread it again, which I always recommend when you solve word problems, the product of two positive numbers is 70. So can we use negative 10? The answer is no. Can't use that, not because there's anything wrong with the work that we did, but it's because we want a positive number. So one number is going to be 7 The other one is going to be 7 plus 3, which is 10. You can check. 7 times 10 is 70, and one of them is 3 more than the other. Okay? And this is how it's done. I hope this helps.